Hey guys, Jack on Wrist here, back with another video, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about why Patek Philippe is a ripoff. Now obviously that might sound like a very controversial take, but I hope you guys can listen to this video in its entirety before making your judgments and leaving your comments in the comment section down below, because I do think I honestly make a good point in this video. I want to start off this video by saying that of course Patek Philippe is an outstanding brand entrenched in horology, and they make outstanding products, and that's really not the point of this video, is not to question the quality of Patek Philippe. Of course they make outstanding products and pieces, but really more so to question the price that you have to pay to acquire one of them, and in my opinion I deem that to not be worth it. So of course the central argument I'm trying to make here is that the price you have to pay to acquire a Patek Philippe just isn't worth it, because honestly for a spec for spec comparison to other watches, it just doesn't make any sense. And of course, if you're going to talk about the cost of Patek Philippe, we should use some actual numbers here. So the average cost of a Patek Philippe is going to cost you in the range of about $20,000 to $60,000, and that's just looking at the retail price. We're not looking at anything in the aftermarket at this point. Now obviously paying $20,000 to $60,000 for a watch is pretty insane to 99.99% of the people out there. That is absolutely ridiculous, the fact that a watch can cost as much as a really nice car. And really where it starts to become even more ridiculous is when you start to look at other watches of, in my opinion, pretty equal quality and the prices you pay for those watches. So let's look at something like a Patek Philippe Calatrava, for example, the sort of staple dress watch from Patek Philippe. That watch at retail is going to cost you in the range of $25,000. And then let's look at something else to compare it to, such as an Omega de Ville. That's going to cost you around, let's say, $5,000. Now, although the Calatrava is an extremely nice piece, there's no way of convincing me that the Calatrava is 5 times the quality than the Omega de Ville. But that's essentially what the price tag is insinuating when you look at the difference here. Both watches come from great brands with a lot of history. They're going to have good movements, high quality build, and the only real difference here is the fact that one says Patek Philippe on the dial and one says Omega, and of course the 2 price points. In my opinion, there's a certain point in watches where you sort of peak out in terms of quality. Of course, there's always innovation, there's always little things that brands can do to make watches feel like they're higher in quality, but I would say in that sort of mid-tier luxury price range of Omega and Rolex, that's essentially where you sort of start to peak out a little bit, where the sort of return on investment just starts to dwindle and dwindle the higher up you go in price. To use another example, let's look at the Patek Philippe Nautilus, a watch that at retail is going to cost you around $50,000, and in the aftermarket it's going to cost you well beyond that. Then let's compare it to something like really any generic Rolex sport model that you can buy at retail. That watch is going to cost you around $7,000, $8,000. Well, there's almost no way, again, of convincing me that the Rolex is 10 times lesser of a watch than the Patek Philippe Nautilus in terms of quality, in terms of movement, in terms of really any category that you can look at. The Rolex is extremely high quality and essentially, in my opinion, is, peaking out in terms of quality. There's, not many areas that the Rolex can improve upon. And then you look at the Patek Philippe Nautilus, and again, it's a high quality piece, but it's not going to be 10 times the quality of the Rolex. So I think that's, again, the heart of my argument here is that, yes, Patek Philippe watches are amazing and they are high quality, but at a certain point in watches, you sort of reach a mark where it's just hard to get higher and higher in terms of quality. There's not many things you can do once you have all the little bits and pieces of a high quality watch. Of course, when you look at a $200 Seiko and compare it to a Rolex, there are plenty of areas where you can directly see improvements in quality, but once you get to that sort of mid-tier luxury, as I mentioned, it's hard to go up in terms of quality much more than that. And so once you start paying higher and higher prices, it starts to make less and less sense to make that purchase. Now I'm curious what you guys think in the comment section down below. Would you ever purchase a Patek Philippe watch if you had the money for it? Personally, I could never do that. Of course, that is my own personal opinion, but if I had an excess of $50,000 in the bank that I could spend on anything I wanted to, I wouldn't be buying a Patek Philippe. It just doesn't make sense in terms of getting a watch spec for spec wise compared to really anything else out there. If you want a watch that's going to last the rest of your life that you can pass on to your kids, you don't need to spend $50,000 for a Patek Philippe. You can spend much less and still have a watch that's going to hold up against anything you'll see in your entire lifetime. Now, I do want to bring up this counterpoint, being that watches are worth what people are willing to pay for them. And so, of course, if you go online and you look and you see that someone's willing to pay $100,000 for a Patek Philippe Nautilus. Of course, that's what that watch is worth. I mean, watches are worth what people are willing to pay for them. There's no real arguing that. But that's not the point I'm trying to make here. So if you're in the comment section down below and you're saying, hey, like, listen, of course, Patek Philippe's not a ripoff. If I can pay $50,000 for one and I can sell it for $50,000, how is that a ripoff? I understand that point. I understand, that it's not a ripoff from the perspective of, losing your money. I'm just talking purely from you're wearing this watch on your wrist every single day, and can you get something lower in price that's going to give you equal or near equal quality? And I think with Patek Philippe, every single time you can find a substitute that's going to cost way lower in price. And so I just want to bring that up because I do understand that is a point that some people have made in the past with other videos I've made. I made a video all about Rolex, very similarly saying that I don't think it's a great deal either. And a lot of people are saying, if you can pay $10,000 for a Rolex and sell it for 15 or sell it for 10, whatever, that it's not a ripoff. But again, that's not really the point I was trying to make. I'm really talking about the quality. And I think you can always find something that's going to give you a nice mix of quality and price. And Patek Philippe really just isn't that. So like I said, leave your comments in the comment section down below what you think of my argument. Would you buy a Patek Philippe watch? Do you think it is a ripoff? Do you think it is worth it? Anything you have to say about this video, please let me know in your comments. I'm happy to hear them and respond to them. Let's have a nice civil discussion about this. That's pretty much the video. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.